All right, guys, Shotty T here with another Alliance War video. This is war number 6. Um, Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a pretty exciting, dramatic war here. So, looking forward to posting this video. Again, today it's January the 16th, going into Saturday. So it's good to look back on some of these wars as I'm posting them, but I definitely vividly remember this particular war. So as you see there, we got a pretty good synergy team there. We got Sorcerer Supreme, Storm Pyramid X. They both came out at the same time, so they both synergized each other pretty well. And Sorcerer has a pretty good synergy with She-Hulk as well. The opponent, once again, is Stubborn. Just to give you an idea, a couple of suicide rosters there that I had scouted ahead of time. I think that's the only suicide roster. Now I'm just going to highlight the opponents that I plan on attacking here. And it won't be easy, but this team is, I believe, is going to be up for the task. Like I said, there's a lot of thought process when I pick my attack teams. I try to maximize the most fights that I can get. Obviously, the first part is to make sure I can do my own path. But then the secondary thing is to make sure that I'm able to at least be in contention to fight the boss and take out as few minis as possible if the matchup is right. And for this team, on paper, it looks like it is right. So first opponent's going to be Magneto. Ebb and Flow knockdown. So we're just going to immediately knock him down there. And the thing about the synergy that Sorcerer has with Storm Pyramid X is that she starts to fight automatically with a bar of power. So that's going to come quite in handy in a lot of fights coming up. I accidentally pushed him to SB2, which can be tricky to evade. I was able to time that evade perfectly without taking any block damage or getting crushed. The main thing is just to make sure I didn't get hit by it. So even if I did take block damage, that's fine. But pretty straightforward fight here. I mean, ideally you want to keep him from reaching his SB2 so that we don't have to worry about vexing it like that. And if you can't really punish his SB1, I mean, it's possible if you're close enough, if you have enough range to avoid that first attack. But nonetheless, that fight went pretty straightforward. So next fight here, we're going to have Annihilus. Now, I could have gone two ways with this fight. Could have went with Sorcerer, could have went with Storm Pyramid X. Hindsight, probably could have just went with Storm Pyramid X to keep the fight simple. But decided to go with Sorcerer here. Once again, start with a bar of power, immediately throw the SP1 so I can nullify the buffs he has on him, so I can safely parry him. And the reason why Storm Pyramid X also would have been a good option, because when you try to parry Annihilus when he has that rod up, there's a pretty good chance he'll shrug it off. But the thing about Storm Pyramid X, if the opponent shrugs off a parry, they get passively stunned for an extended period of time. So, and that goes for Annihilus, that goes for like Court with the shrugging, Kingpin, Agent Venom. So she's pretty useful in a lot of those type of matchups when opponents, or any type of tenacity node where the opponent's built in to get that off. But Sorcerer, like I said, he's ended up being just as capable of handling this fight. But but yeah, really growing more and more of a fan of Sorcerer, and I realized the more, even though she doesn't have to be awakened to be great, that awakening ability does make her blessings more potent. So, and the one that I really like is the one with the regeneration one. So really any generics, well, take that back. I am trying to put more Sig Stones into Guardian, who I put at rank 5 a couple of videos ago, one of my rank up videos, because he requires high Sig as well. But pretty much most of my generics are going towards those two. Obviously, any Mystic is going towards her. So we're gonna go ahead and go in, put some boost on for the upcoming fights as well. Now, a few videos back, there was quite a bit adventure on this node, but I did advise you guys that there was one thing I totally forgot about this node, or at least with Sorcerer, that I could use to my advantage as far as her abilities go. And you're gonna see that, I believe, in this particular fight. So when you throw that slow debuff, that passive unstoppable that applies to this node, it won't. I can still hit the opponent. So you're gonna see that that's gonna come in handy in this second life. I don't have to worry about not being able to interrupt his specials. I mean, not his specials, but his heavy attack. So I decided to go ahead and do that there. But because Sorcerer is stubborn, it's not that big of a deal. I can still find a way. And in that case, I really didn't care about the node, the stubborn. I was just trying to make sure I applied that slow debuff. Kind of mess up there. I was trying to push him over bar power. And I was able to get that nice timely intercept there. And there we go. And actually, I guess that's a later war video where I attack into the unstoppable heavy because they had a slow debuff. But we carry on. All right, next fight here. Got Korg. I could use Sorcerer here, but since I got Storm on the team, might as well put her to use. She's tailor-made for this particular node. Just to keep the fight very simple. As I mentioned, for opponents that shrugs off debuffs, they get a passive stun. You can see there's an elongated stun. I can do like a 2-hit combo and start another combo. So it helps get rid of the rock stats sooner. But like I said, the rock stats really aren't an issue. Once again, 2-hit combo. And now, throw the SP1, and it's just gonna keep rinse and repeat. So the SP1, what it does in her ice form, it puts a passive cold snap on the opponent for not a super long period of time, but long enough for you to build yourself to another SP1 and just keep spamming it. So essentially, I can do a 5-hit combo. Don't have to worry about the mixed master evade because the cold snap basically prevents evade. So it's just perfect for this node and this fight and this opponent. It's just only way you can really lose this fight if you just mess up and get hit by the SP1, really. Yeah, but we've long past those trial and tribulation. I remember when Korg first came out, it took me forever to dodge his SP1. I actually literally had to watch a YouTube video of how to dodge his special because it was just, I think it was just it's a certain point, like right when he's about to drop his foot, that's when you start dexing back, and you literally dex back to the rhythm of the gun But if you try to do it as the bullets are coming out, you're gonna get hit every time, and that's the part that I struggled with early on. But you just have to watch his foot when it lands, basically, and you'll be able to do it every time. Right when that gun's about to pop out. but but she's just destroying this guy. I mean, it's just not even a fair fight. Just doing 5-hit combos, keeping him in the corner, evading the SB1. And that time we got a 3-hit combo. So I was able to get a full 3-hit combo with that passive stun that time and start another combo. So if you're quick, you can do that. But if you want to be safe, you can just do a double medium and then start another combo, which is recommended. So, but that fight is done. So just tailor-made matchup. All right, next fight, we got a thing here. It's gonna use She-Hulk. So this is where She-Hulk is being used. Now, I believe this fight does not quite go how I planned it to go. So it's gonna be unfortunate. If I recall, again, I think this war took place 12 days ago. So it's hard to remember what happened 2 weeks ago. I just remember there was a lot of drama towards the end of this war. But so far, everything's going well. So just enough spacing to basically when he ends his special, I can just throw my heavy, reapply the slow. The slow debuff, what it does, it prevents the effects of evade and unstoppable. Well, not prevent, evade. I mean, of course, he has that evade charge active, but it just prevents the opponent from evading. And the unstoppable, you don't have to worry about it. So I do mess up early. As you see there, I got hit with the SB2. So that was one mistake there. And again, space myself when he lands from his special to put another slow debuff, and that's another mistake I made there. I was trying to parry his SP1, but forgot he had 15 stacks. Because with She-Hulk, it's easy for you to not worry about the stacks because of the slow debuff you keep applying to the opponent. So unfortunately, I took my eye off the rock stacks and forgot he was unblockable and got hit in the face. So now this fight has a little bit more drama to it, so I got to be a little more careful now. And I also have a lot of Fury stacks on me, so he's becoming unstoppable. I mean, not unstoppable. His protection is propping up quite often. So at one point, I thought I wasn't going to finish the fight, or because obviously with my health, it's the main reason, not because of the clock. I mean, there's plenty of time left in this fight. Yeah, but yeah, fortunately I died there. So it's a couple of mistakes that were made in that fight. Primarily just not paying attention to the stacks. So we go ahead and revive here. Like I said, I don't want to. I could possibly finish him off with Storm Pyramid X because of at least the slow mechanic from her SP1, but there's nothing she can do regarding that footloose node, and don't want to get cornered. So I just said I'm just gonna revive She-Hulk, finish this fight off. Yeah, so that was unfortunate there. Yeah, so like I said, I know there was just a couple of mistakes there. Got hit by SP1 and an SP2. More times than not, you're gonna die. I mean, even though I still could have finished that fight without dying. But we'll finish this fight off here. I've Obviously, our radar is much higher now to pay attention to the rock stacks, even though the slow debuff is there. And now we're being aggressive with the intercept because we're not worrying about it. All right, so that's the end of that fight. So yeah, I died. And the screen somehow froze here. So at this point, I was saying, hopefully this fight counts. Because I don't want to start the game over and then have that fight not count. Then next thing you know, it's another attack bonus gone. So I decided to just wait it out. And there it finally shows up. I won the fight. All right, so I think I wait around before going into my next fight. Like I said, got the first death of the alliance in that fight as well. All right, so next fight here, we're going to have Black Widow, Deadly Origin. We're going to use Storm here. So the idea is to get that intercept right before my SP2, which will just nuke her down and just be vigilant of the... And I didn't know that effect happened. Apparently, when you have ebb and flow, if the opponent happens to be in the middle of a stun right when your passive fury expires, with Storm Pyramid X, they get passive stun. So that's something I learned. Obviously, I didn't know that was going to happen in this fight. I was just anticipating her shrugging off the parry, and I just preparing to just go back and fight. Unfortunately, I did not do the intercept before applying the SP2. That would have easily killed her. So it just makes the fight last a little bit longer here. I was too close to try to dex those last 2 hits of that SP1, so I just said I'm just gonna just take that block damage. All right, so there's that fight. And now we got 2 deaths. Like, so I'm keeping track because the opponent on paper had looked pretty decent, so I was obviously wanting to make sure to try to keep that momentum, staying ahead, not just in our battle group, but for the alliance as a whole. Usually in our battle group, we pretty much win our individual battles every time we die less than the opponent. So, but this fight here, we got Nova. Again, I don't have the most ideal Nova matchup for this node, but again, as I said in the beginning, I try to maximize matchups, and I can make do in lesser ideal matchups. Because obviously, usually the best people I can bring for this particular fight would be either Dr. Doom or Magic. But Sorcerer's a pretty good option too, because with the SP2 that he has, if I keep throwing my specials when I have that armor active, I can basically regenerate any block damage, like 75% of it. And it's even more so with the recovery mastery. And again, the higher the SIG, the more potent that regeneration is. So essentially you can gain health even though you're blocking. So the idea here is to go ahead and throw my SP3 when I have that armor. So that way every special I throw for the rest of the remaining fight is going to apply that regeneration passive. And that's going to come in handy, obviously, because occasionally I do push him over 2 bars of power. And what I do purposely is just block the second part of his SP1 and regenerate that health back. Now, as you saw earlier, I mistimed it and got actually hit by it. And because she's stubborn, I can actually not trigger his stubborn that often and just stay in track. But he was able to do all his swinging and missing and able to avoid my special. But a lot of times I just throw the specials just to refresh the runes. Now I actually threw that SP2 by mistake. I could have got punished. That Mystic Dispersion kicked in, pushed me to 2 bars of power unexpectedly. So now the fight's getting a little tense here. Trying to get him to throw a special here. And every time he dodges at me, now we just gotta go for it. Luckily I have that luckily I had that power rune where every time I hit I do power steal, so I took advantage of that. So that was too close for comfort there, but we finished the fight. Almost had a heart attack there though. Alright, so next fight here. Sasquatch, he's unawakened, which is a big difference. So basically when he gets into his Wrath of Tanarak mode, normally whenever he throws a special attack or a heavy attack, he becomes unstoppable. But since he's unawakened, I don't have to worry about that. He still becomes stun immune, so obviously I have to be mindful of that. And also, since he's unawakened, I don't have to worry about him regenerating health once he gets below like 40% health. So that makes him rather pedestrian for this particular node. If he was awakened, this would be a tough replacement. But since he's unawakened, it's really the main thing I got to worry about is not blocking when he throws that SP1. Because if there's a chance that if you block that rock from his SP1, there's a chance that you'll get like stunned. And it's 100% a guarantee when he has that Wrath of Tanarak active, which he has now. As you can see there, if he was awakened, he would be unstoppable when he throws that heavy. So in this case, I could just wait it out. And another thing you can do when he has that Wrath of Tanarak, it's pretty easy to intercept him. It's almost like the oscillator node when the opponent has that Fury charge. You can pretty much intercept him guaranteed. As long as if you keep your distance and allow him to come towards you, you can pretty much get an intercept every time. So that's more useful, especially when you're facing the awakened version of him for this particular fight. So next here we got Killmonger. Now this is a pretty good placement because normally people like to use like Torch, but the more debuffs you apply to Killmonger, the more power he gains, and of course you're susceptible to reverberation damage on top of that. So Sorcerer Supreme figured out a few wars ago she's a pretty good matchup for him on this node. Now there are some things you still have to do. Now this is where it came in handy that I started out with a bar of power, so I immediately was able to go into my SP1 and cause the armor break. So that way, if he's armor broken, I don't have to worry about the reverberation. Now, obviously, I can't stun on this node, so a lot of times I end up just doing regular, just let him hit into my block and bait heavy. So that's really the main concept. And since I had that regeneration, I decided to let him hit into my block there. Now I probably could have parried that first hit of that SP2 and gain a stubborn charge. That way, just to give myself extra cushion in case I dex at one point he doesn't go stubborn. It'll just remove one of those stubborn charges. But this fight is going pretty. I mean, like I said, it's not the most ideal matchup for this node. I think most people that fight this node probably uses not Killmonger, but Omega Red. At least with Omega Red, his tentacle hits do not cause any reverb damage, and plus you can just bait heavy and heavy counter with your heavy with the spores and the generation damage. So as you can see there, like I said, I was not really worried about the stubborn part. I was just trying to make sure I executed what I was trying to execute and worry about the stubborn later. Obviously, I would have loved for them to take that SP3 damage right there. But I was trying to make sure I threw the SP3 when I had that Fury blessing active, so that way every special I throw from here on out is going to apply armor break. So that way the reverb is less of an issue. And obviously I prefer my remaining specials, the rest of the fight, to have that regeneration blessing active. So that way I can have the best of both worlds. I think I throw my SP1 right. No, I don't throw it right there. I thought I did. Because I had that regeneration 1 active. I could have thrown it right there. So I'm taking a little bit of reverb damage there. But again, we're just trying to at this point, I'm surprised why I didn't use that that special with the regeneration 1 once again. It's pretty good to critique yourself when you're watching the war after the fact, and some things you could have done different. Because those things right there really elongated the fight. Because now the clock is becoming an issue. If I would have thrown through that special with the regeneration 1 earlier, I would have had a better peace of mind fighting the rest of this fight, and also been more aggressive, where the clock wouldn't be more of an issue. Alright, didn't want him to regenerate off those debuffs. I just decided to just block the first hit of his SP2 that time. I'm just trying to bait a heavy. There we go. And armor break. And now we're down to 4% health. Again, that regeneration block damage. Baiting that heavy. So again, we made it through that fight. Took more health lost than I wanted to with that reverb damage, because I do plan on fighting her with against Mr. Apocalypse. So we got She-Hulk. Probably could have saved that potion. Probably should have just used a combat regeneration boost, but I only got 2 of those. So I decided to do an invulnerability boost only because of that first fight I had. So that's the only reason why. So I guess I was kind of traumatized from that first fight. So, man, I died last time, so I want to make sure I don't get hit by mistake. But this fight goes a lot different than the first fight. And we're actually paying attention to the rock stacks this time, for starters. And we're doing a lot of shallow evades to prevent that stubborn from popping up with my dexterity. And I know I referenced this in the previous videos, but to shallow evade, if you watch Dork Lessons, it shows you what to do. Essentially, you just dex back before the opponent gets to you. Not a lot of, if you do it right as they get to you, you'll trigger dex. But if you do it like while they're already committed to dashing at you, so you basically dash back like when they're like halfway across the screen. That way, when they land their medium attack, they'll land it short of you where you dex back, but you'll also be close enough to them where you can actually punish them with an attack. In some scenarios, that can be very useful. But in this case, it's to prevent stubborn. But it also becomes very effective in matchups against certain opponents like Dormammu with his degeneration, and also spite nodes. So it becomes very useful with those shallow evades. And also the same thing with his special attack. Like if you're out of the range of it, like I was already dexing back before it started. I mistimed my gap, my spacing there with the SB1, but hey, I had the invulnerability boost, so that helped. If I didn't have it active, I still would have survived it. But again, it's better to be safe than sorry. Alright, once again, shallow evade. Alright, so that's pretty, we got our revenge there. Good job, She-Hulk. And this time we don't have connection issues. Just gonna finish the fight. So now we look. Of course, we still got some work to do with the other bosses. But at this point, I decided to go look at where we stand currently. And it's a close one. And the opponent has killed more of our opponents. So this fight must be a one-shot. So we're going to apply every boost in the book for this fight. This is actually my very first time using Sorcerer against Apocalypse. And I just had this thought process in my mind that I'm going to use her regeneration rune in my favor. So every time I block his special attack, I'll just regenerate health off of it from the block. Now, there's a way to evade this special, but it's very tricky. And it's definitely risky to do it in a war. Like I've done it in Alliance Quest a couple of times, but it's definitely not consistent at all. And it's just probably it's that learning curve. Same learning curve with Korg evading his special. Because there's a certain mechanism, like I think when he drops his foot and then those rocks pop up in the air, that's when you start dexing back 3 straight times for the SB1. The SB2 is a little bit easier to dex completely. Basically, when that first ball comes across, you want to dex it when that ball is halfway across the screen. Because if you wait until it gets to you, you'll be able to dex that one. But those other two, you won't be able to dex at all. And you'll probably be able to dex the second one, but the third one will hit you. And so, but in this case, I just keep it simple. Don't have to worry about dexing anything. Just gonna block it and regenerate health off of it. And I am aware that the stubborn is there, so I want to go ahead and get that off. And the good thing about the SB1 is that it nullifies any buffs that are on the opponent. So, cause I think the longer this fight goes, the opponent ends up getting more physical and energy resistance buffs on them. So it helps that I can nullify those, and with my Mystic Dispersion being at a 4, gain some power when it expires. So got a little nice intercept there. We're gonna nullify that one. Get more regeneration off the block in anticipation of him throwing his SB2 now. As you can see, that health just regenerates back. So it makes her effectively tanky because of that. And plus, I make a mistake there. And we get hit. Now, we still had our invulnerability boost active that carried over from that last fight. Um, Now again, it's about fight awareness. She was in her power room where I can steal power from the opponent, so wasn't worrying about pushing him to 3 bars of power there. So this is all of her abilities in full display for this particular fight. She's not that hard to learn. Just if you just read up on it. Basically, the idea here is the very first. If you throw your SP3, whatever rune phase that she's in at that time, that's gonna the debuff, the mode that's gonna apply the rest of the fight is gonna be that mode. So in this case, since it was the Fury mode, every special I throw from here on out is gonna be it's gonna apply armor break, and it's a pretty strong armor break, so it helps knock them down. And looking back at this particular war, I do end up using her in some future war fights against Apocalypse, and I didn't realize that I used the armor break one off the SB3. Cause I think I decided to use the regeneration one in those fights, just trying to more so be concerned about the regeneration from the block. But obviously it makes the fight longer, and as you can see, even with me throwing special with the armor break, I mean, the clock is still an issue, so you can imagine that I timed out in those other fights. But here we go. We're in Assassin's range. We got it should kill him. Pretty confident in this. And there we go. I think if he was at 20% health, that probably still would have killed him. But there we go. One Apocalypse solo. So I got a solo in War before I got a solo in AQ. But as you can see there, it's very tight. Now we're both finished. Now we have a 15 defender kill edge, but attack bonus wise, we have to check and see how many of those kills actually count towards the attack bonus. So I look at kills there, so that's 7 overkills there. It's 2 overkills there, so that's 9. That's 5 overkills, so that's 14. Yeah, so I just go back and do the math. So that's 14 overkills. So now our attack bonus edge is actually 1. 17 overkill, so now our attack bonus deficit is 2, but we also have to factor in how many overkills they have. So I look at our attack bonus, which is 445, so the max is 50, so we got 53 deaths, so we got 3 overkills. So if my memory serves me right, we end up winning this by 1 attack bonus. It's easy to figure out the math at the end, and plus I studied math, but it's not hard to figure out. But nonetheless, we won the war. As you'll see here, we ended up winning by 1 attack bonus, but it turned out we had a great diversity edge, so we actually had a bigger cushion with the diversity for the attack. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed that one. Please like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy the rest of your day.